In this video, I'm going to take you guys along to do a detailed disassembly on my Glock 23 Gen 4, same as the Glock 19, same as pretty much any Glock. Anyways, as far as it's a Gen 4, because they're going to be different sizes, but pretty much have the same internals. So, not really including like single stacks and everything, but well, they're pretty much the same, but whatever. So, Glock is a Glock, right? So, anyways, the point of me really disassembling this is to go ahead and we'll just do a basic field strip here. The point of me getting in here and doing the detail strip is to kind of wipe out the striker channel for one, and then to get down and wipe down the disconnector area and wipe down the trigger bar area. Just get a nice detail cleaning here because I'm at 2,000 rounds, a little over 2,000 rounds now. So post 2,000 round review anyways. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open this up. So I'll go ahead and change my lighting, and this little piece right here, this little polymer piece, I'm going to go ahead and push that down this way, while using these little serrations right here, push that way. So pull down, it's going to be under a good amount of spring tension. There you go. Use a little can of man, pull that off. There your striker goes. A little spring that holds in your extractor, so it should have this nice little polymer cap here and this spring, so make sure those pieces don't come loose or anything. And then hold down your firing pin safety right here, depress it, and then your extractor should fall out if it's a bit dirty, which mine was. I already did a basic cleaning of this and I forgot to get to the striker channel, so I figured I would just hit two birds with one stone and go back and swab this out with a Q-tip. So you can see Q-tip's basically the same size. So we'll go in here, just give that a little twirl right there, and this thing will be a beauty queen in no time. Ooh, look at how beautiful that is. Right. Okay, so then now that that's done, it's really quick. I mean, I already swabbed this area out, so it's all good. So the first thing I do is I put back in the firing pin safety, and then I put in the extractor. And you got to depress the firing pin safety while you're putting the extractor in, or it won't go flush, because this is more what will happen. It'll sort of go in and it'll just hang out like this. So you depress it and it'll just sit in there. And then I put in my spring for my extractor, and then put in the striker, and first I'll give it a bit of a wipe. And it still looks pretty, so still doing pretty good. No need for lubrication really, at least in this area. So then from here I can just use my finger to depress the striker body. It's polymer, so you know it'll be fine. You can use something else. And yeah, this one's being rough. Okay, there we go. I guess I'm just getting mushy fingers. Whatever. So there we go. After you depress the little spring, the little plastic plunger piece or whatever, the little cap, and you can press slide the little back plate on all the way. Then I'll just put this all back together and we'll move on to the frame. So yeah, I'm moving through all this. I mean, there's a bunch of videos on YouTube already about taking these off. I don't know, why people need me to make this, but I'm just killing two birds with one stone. So the thing about these pins right here is they're all going to be different sizes, and you don't need a hammer to do this unless you're in your first 1,000 rounds. It can be a little tight on this pin right here. They're all different sizes. You got a skinny and a fat long ones, and you got a skinny polymer smooth one right here. It'll have no texturing, so I'll just get this one out first. So this is, I guess I'll call this my control, but see how smooth that is? There's nothing to it, no texture, no nothing. It's plain Jane Glocky. So there we go. And I have no backstrap on here because I got girly hands, so it's not really going to be a good example for size comparison. So the first one I like to actually go after is the small one, the one up top, because that actually holds the spring for the slide stop. So get that one out. It'll take tension off, and all I have to do at this point is push it from left to right out. So pretty much all these pins, as far as I know, is left to right, push them out. And you can see that this one actually does have a pattern to it. It gets a little bit larger at the very end there. So as you can see, it just barely gets a little bit larger at the end. So there you go. And you can see the size of the pins, very different. So yeah, very different, very obvious differences. So there we go. And then this one. The technique I use with this one, you see this little piece right here? This is the piece that your magazine pushes on right here to hold your slide back. And you basically make this mechanism work. So your magazine has to have enough tension to push this up and has to push it up at the right time, right? So anyways, holding on to this with your middle and index finger and holding this side with your thumb and rocking like this, or in a circular motion, as you're gently pushing this pin from left to right out, this is basically how it'll go. Alright, there we go. So, lifting it up slightly and pushing it in, that seemed to work out pretty darn well. So, sometimes you don't have to pull out the trigger, but, in some of my Glocks I've had to. So, at this point, you got your pin, and obviously this is a unique texture. It can go in either way, but basically the way the slide stop works is it sits in one of these recesses. So there's actually some clearance on both sides, but it's just enough to where you just gotta wiggle it just right and find out where it releases at, because it can catch pretty easily. So yeah, so it can go in either way, but yeah, big difference. So there's a slide stop. Wipe that off, so it's got some friction there, not all that bad, but yeah, it's looking all good. So I'll just toss that down. You might have to replace this spring right here, but realistically, if you're gonna have to replace this spring, I would just replace this whole thing, because this thing can wear right here where it holds on to the slide. You can get some I guess unique wear characteristics right here. If you use the slide stop as a release, you can get some unique wear in that area, and it can be detrimental over time. But for the most part, the biggest concern would be just making sure that this spring is got good tension, and it still does. It's still a new pistol. It's only 2,000 rounds. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this punch, and I'm going to use this as my lever, this little takedown spring, and let me go ahead and adjust the lighting here, and I'm going to use this, and I'm going to use it as leverage to pull up on the locking block or camming block, whatever you want to call it, and then I'll come from the back here. I'll hit it from the back, and I will pop this up, and then just grab it. There we go. And so this is my camming block. And this one, I am always interested in seeing the wear, but the most interesting thing for me is, see this top part right here? It's like it has gold on it or something. I don't understand that right there, why it looks like it's gold. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's just brass shavings that got slammed into the metal. But yeah, I always like looking at the wear here. But yeah, so this is the camming block. This is the piece that obviously your barrel cams on, and mine's actually looking pretty good. I mean, you can see the wear right here. You can see where the slide stop will rub up against this and kind of wear the finish down or whatever and smooth it out or whatever. But yeah, there's the cam block, and now we can go ahead and just pull out the whole trigger mechanism, and we're pretty much good. We could disassemble this, and all you got to do is push down on this piece right here, and once this piece is down, you can basically just get this disassembly notch to come out like that. And you can clean it if you want to or whatever, and I believe you can take out this pin, or not this pin, but this spring, and clean it too. I mean, it's not really necessary, but it is what it is. Part your magazine release, you'll need something that can actually reach down there and pluck it out, but you can see where it would come out right about here. I don't have a long screwdriver right now to reach it, and really I'm not too interested right now in getting it out. Nothing's obstructing it, so I'm all good. So anyways, I'll just stick with this area. So anyways, trigger mechanism. Okay, so all you're going to have to do is pull it up and, basically pull it out like so, and it should pop up. But see how nasty that is? Ooh. Alright, so we'll wipe that down. Oh my gosh, she's beautiful. And look at that side too. Ooh, ain't that gross? Yeah, that's gross. That's gross looking. Oh my gosh. It's like looking in a mirror. Yes, that was a reference at saying I'm ugly. Okay. Wonder if anybody caught that. Probably not. But, anyways. Let's see here. So yes, it's an S hook, so basically when it goes back on, this hook is supposed to be facing downwards, and it catches on this part. And there we go. Just as I wanted you. Wanted you to go back on. There we go. Okay. So now it's all wiped down, it's all dry, and that was one of the quickest things ever. So then going back in, you'll just need to get it on track, like nice and level, and then pop it in place and you'll be good to go. You'll have good tension. Yeah. So this is how your disconnector and everything works. So basically it comes back, and this little piece right here, this angled piece, pushes the trigger bar down and pulls this down and away from the striker, so the striker can go free and go about its business, and kind of helps it drop out of the way, as it were. So that's what's responsible for it. So yeah, keeping this area clean is important if you want a nice smooth trigger pull for the most part. And yeah, so you don't really need to do anything too special, just wipe it off and lubricate it, and it's a pretty quick job. So I'm not even going to lubricate it. I think metal on metal will do just fine for me at this point. So get this level, there we go, and you can go ahead and just clean out the insides, and I'll get back to you kids. Okay, so I'm good to go now, so I'll go ahead and start by inserting my trigger and firing mechanism and put it in place. Should be good to go. And obviously now I have to insert this because I was sure that I was going to get people asking, how it goes together, and all those important questions, of course. So push this little spring down, and there we go. Make sure this little divot here is at the back and face backwards, and you should be good to go. So that's what actually catches on the barrel here, is that little notch actually catches on this notch. The little notch on that little disassembly piece catches on this notch, and that's what holds it in place. That's why you relieve the tension a bit. So yeah. Alright, so now let's go ahead and put this camming block back in, and golden. And then next, our first pin. Now you could say that you should do this one first. I don't really care. I mean, you can. For all those that would argue that, I don't really care. Doesn't really make much of a difference to me. So yeah, just push it in with your finger and then go the rest of the way with, the pin to get it nice and level. Alright, sweet, first pin, yay. Alright, so slide stop, you can see, when you're good, you'll have no air, or you'll have nothing but air, nothing but net, basically. And go left to right, as again, it doesn't really matter, but just wiggle it around a bit, and go ahead and, there we go, so there. now I've made my life harder than it has to be, because now I've got to push this in. I got to put this spring in, or not spring, but I got to put this pin in up here, and I got to hold down the spring here for the slide stop at the same time. So, well, the only way to do a thing is to do it. So, that wasn't too hard. I was actually expecting a little bit more work. Oh well. Okay, so I just had to push the spring over a bit because it drifted all the way here. So, that's all good now, for the most part. There we go. Yeah, relatively. There. Ugh. There we go. Little snap. Okay, so now it's in place. So we're good to go now. And that's the frame. That's all the pins in. Function test. Alright. It works. Oh my. And that trigger pull. Oh my. It's going to seduce so many trigger snobs. Alright. Okay, so that's how to detail strip this pistol. I mean, no, I'm not going to go over all the exact nomenclatures and everything, all the correct names or whatever, and I'm not going to take it all too seriously. I'm bringing you guys along while I'm doing some poo-butt, little admin work of my own, but this is very low-grade stuff. It's not really anything too extravagant, so don't get too confused by it. It's just a bunch of metal and polymer, so really not too hard to get confused, especially with this gun. So, if you're interested in doing it yourself, then go ahead. It's really not too hard, but maybe record it if you get too confused or whatever. But anyways, I appreciate you guys watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and you guys have a good one.